The African savanna, vast, untamed, and ruled by the fiercest predators. In this realm, strength is law, and only the most powerful survive. Lions are not just kings by name, but by action, leading coalitions that reign over sprawling territories. In the heart of Etosha National Park, two young lions, later known as the Bhatia brothers, lived under the protection of their pride. Their father, a dominant male, ruled the land with an iron will. The brothers grew strong under his shadow, destined to one day carve their legacy into the land. Far to the north, in the wild expanses surrounding the Luangwa River Valley in Zambia, another figure emerged, a massive maneless lion soon to become the infamous Mfuwe man-eater. This lion was different, not just in size but in behavior, creeping closer to human settlements, watching. For the Bhatia brothers, life was structured and secure. For Mfuwe, the wild stretched endlessly. Yet in both stories, the peace was fragile, the kind that never lasts long in the untamed African wilderness. This is the tale of how lions became legends, how the Bhatias rose from exiles to rulers, and how Mfuwe, shrouded in fear and superstition, etched his name in history as one of the most feared man-eaters the world had ever known. But before they became kings, they were wanderers, hunters, and prey. The dry season in Etosha was relentless. Food was scarce, and tensions within the pride ran high. The Bhatia brothers, growing in strength and size, became a threat to their father. Driven by instinct, their father expelled them, a fate common among young male lions. Barely 2 years old, the brothers faced the harsh reality of life outside the pride. Banished from the only home they knew, they roamed the edges of the territory, skirting danger and surviving on scraps. Meanwhile, in Zambia, Mfuwe made his presence known. In 1991, villagers near the Luangwa River reported a lion larger than any they had seen. He had no mane, leading locals to believe he was a giant lioness. But the truth was far more terrifying. One evening, as two boys returned to their village, Mfuwe struck. He killed one while the other fled, his cries echoing through the night. The village awoke to find tattered clothes and a single skull marked by claw marks. The Bhatia brothers faced exile. Mfuwe tasted his first human kill. Both stories had begun. Exiled and vulnerable, the Bhatia brothers hesitated to challenge other coalitions. They skirted lion territories, living in the shadows and feeding on small prey. The vastness of Etosha seemed less like freedom and more like a prison. Mfuwe, despite his first successful attack, retreated into the forest after being wounded by a poacher's bullet. For weeks, the lion disappeared, leading villagers to believe the threat had passed. But he had not gone far. The Bhatias avoided confrontation, growing lean and cautious. Mfuwe healed, but something had changed. The bullet wound ignited a hatred for humans, pushing him closer to the villages than ever before. The brothers lingered at the edges of territories they feared to enter. Mfuwe circled villages he once avoided. Both were predators on the brink of transformation, but not yet ready to step fully into their new roles. Hello guys, if you like our stories and haven't subscribed yet, support our work and subscribe to the channel to help us. In the vastness of Etosha, survival often depends on alliances. For the Bhatia brothers, salvation came in the form of Scarface, a battle-hardened lion with a jagged scar across his eye. Scarface had been exiled from his own pride years earlier, wandering alone and surviving through cunning and brutality. When the Bhatia brothers crossed paths with Scarface, they approached cautiously. But instead of hostility, Scarface saw potential. They joined forces, forming a coalition that held the promise of dominance. Scarface taught the brothers how to hunt large prey, buffalo and even giraffes, lessons that would one day define their legacy. For Mfuwe, his mentor was not another lion, but his growing confidence and awareness of human behavior. He studied the villages, watching from the cover of tall grass, learning how people reacted to his presence. Over time, he shifted his hunting patterns, targeting villagers who wandered alone, often at night. Scarface and Mfuwe embodied survival. One teaching through direct alliance, the other through experience and observation. In both stories, the lions began to evolve, edging closer to their destinies. But the savannah rarely rewards alliances forever. Scarface had his own ambitions, and Mfuwe's desire for human prey grew insatiable. The coalition of Scarface and the Batia brothers faced their first major test when they wandered too close to Ophir territory, ruled by a dominant group of older lions. A clash was inevitable. One evening, driven by the scent of lionesses in heat, the Batia brothers followed Scarface into Ophir lands. They underestimated the strength of the reigning males. The result was a brutal defeat. Scarface escaped with minor injuries, but the Batia brothers suffered deep wounds, retreating to the safety of the rocks to recover. Across the Zambian wilderness, Mfuwe crossed his threshold in blood. His attacks escalated. He broke into a hut at night, killing a woman and dragging her body miles away. The villagers, gripped by fear, fortified their homes with thorny branches and set fires around their huts. Despite their efforts, Mfuwe remained undeterred. The Batia brothers and Mfuwe had crossed the line separating them from their former selves. The Batias had tasted defeat but survived, while Mfuwe tasted dominance and grew bolder. But survival is a fickle thing, and not all alliances are built to last. For the Batia brothers, survival alongside Scarface felt secure until the day their mentor turned against them. Scarface, recognizing the growing strength and confidence of the brothers, saw them not as allies, but as threats to his dominance. One night, he attacked without warning. The savannah echoed with roars of betrayal as Scarface singled out the younger and smaller of the brothers, pinning him to the ground. The older Batia brother retaliated, forcing Scarface to retreat, but the damage was done. The younger Batia was gravely injured, left limping as his brother led him away. This was not just a fight for survival, it was personal. Separated and weakened, the Batias' coalition fractured. For the first time, they were alone again, and Scarface reclaimed dominance. Meanwhile, Mfuwe's story took an equally chilling turn. With the villagers on high alert at night, Mfuwe shifted his strategy, attacking in broad daylight. In one shocking event, Mfuwe entered a village under the blazing sun, dragging a woman from her home. He carried not only her body, but a sack of clothes, dropping garments along the way as if mocking the villagers. Hunters and guards, confident they had defended their homes at night, were left stunned. This twist shattered the notion of safety, plunging the villagers into fear once more. As Mfuwe roared from the distance, playing with the stolen clothes, rumors spread that he was no ordinary lion, but a cursed spirit, the reincarnation of a vengeful sorcerer expelled by the tribe. At this point, the Batia brothers faced betrayal from within, and the villagers in Zambia realized that no time of day was safe from the Mfuwe lion. But how much further could these lions push the limits of dominance, and who would survive the coming storm? After the betrayal by Scarface, the Batia brothers retreated deep into the rocky outcrops of Madikwe. Wounded and vulnerable, the younger brother struggled to keep pace. For days they remained hidden, observing the movements of other lions from a distance. In the stillness of isolation, the Batia brothers began to understand the true source of their strength, their colossal size and unbreakable bond. Scarface had experience, but together, the Batias were unmatched in raw power. They watched as Scarface claimed lionesses and territory, but the brothers bided their time, sharpening their skills and waiting for the right moment to strike. Across the savannah in Zambia, Mfuwe's reign of terror continued, but even predators face resistance. Villagers began lighting fires during the day and posted armed guards. Traps were laid, but Mfuwe circled them with unsettling awareness, never stepping directly into danger. However, Mfuwe's growing notoriety drew the attention of an experienced hunter, Wayne Hosek, an American who had heard of the lion's uncanny ability to evade death. Hosek arrived, determined to end the man-eater's reign. The Batia brothers prepared for vengeance. Mfuwe unknowingly walked closer to his greatest threat. The stage was set for confrontation. The Batia brothers emerged from isolation with one goal: to reclaim what Scarface had stolen. One night, under the cover of darkness, they tracked Scarface's pride, following the scent of lionesses in heat. As Scarface fed on the remains of a buffalo kill, the Batia struck. The battle was ferocious. Scarface, though powerful, faced two lions at the peak of their strength. Roars echoed across Madikwe as the Bhatia brothers pinned him to the ground, dealing blow after blow until Scarface fell silent. The Bhatias did not kill him immediately. Scarface, battered and broken, limped away exiled once more. His former pride watched in silence as the Bhatia brothers reclaimed dominance. They had not only avenged the betrayal, they had taken Scarface's legacy as their own. Meanwhile, in Zambia, Wayne Hosek spent weeks tracking Mfue, laying bait, and camping near waterholes. Mfue, sensing the human presence, stayed elusive. One evening, Mfue returned to the village he had terrorized, this time with a new strategy. He approached calmly, not to hunt, but to roar and parade in front of the villagers. It was as if he dared them to stop him. The ordeal intensified when Mfue dragged the body of his latest victim directly through the center of the village, scattering pieces of clothing along the way. Hosek, now certain that Mfue had no fear of humans, knew a final confrontation was imminent. The Bhatia brothers had faced their greatest rival. Hosek was about to face his. With Scarface defeated, the Bhatia brothers reigned supreme over Madikwe. The lionesses accepted them, and soon, cubs were born, further solidifying their rule. The Bhatias transformed from exiles to kings, the largest and most powerful lions in the reserve. Their legend spread across southern Africa, not just for their size, but for the brutality with which they ruled. Scarface had been the most feared lion, but his name faded into obscurity. The Bhatias had rewritten the story. In Zambia, Hosek's persistence paid off. One night, Mfue finally took the bait, a buffalo carcass tied near a tree. Hosek aimed carefully and fired. The first shot struck Mfue, but the lion fled. 2 days later, Hosek tracked him down again. This time the shot was fatal. Villagers celebrated, but not before spitting on Mfue's body, a final act of defiance against the creature they believed was more spirit than lion. The Bhatia brothers had seized power. Mfue's reign had ended, but the stories of both lions had only just begun. For the Bhatia brothers, victory over Scarface did not signal the end of their battles. With their dominance established, they set their sights on new territory, Ophir, the land of the powerful lions who had once humiliated them. In 1997, emboldened by their strength, the Bhatias crossed into Ophir land once more. This time they were not the young, inexperienced lions of the past. They were kings, larger, stronger, and driven by the desire to erase past defeats. A brutal confrontation followed, but unlike their earlier battles, the Bhatia brothers emerged victorious. The reigning Ophir lions were forced to flee, and the Bhatias expanded their reign. Meanwhile, Wayne Hosek's task in Zambia was far from over. Although Mfue had been killed, the devastation he left behind echoed throughout the region. The villagers still feared that Mfue's spirit lingered. His death had brought relief, but many believed another lion would one day rise, driven by the same dark force. Even in death, Mfue's shadow stretched far and wide. For years, the Bhatia brothers reigned supreme over Madikwe, towering figures that commanded respect and fear alike. Their reputation as the largest and most powerful lions in the reserve grew, spreading far beyond the borders of their territory. Visitors to the reserve often asked about them by name, eager to catch a glimpse of the legendary lions that had overcome betrayal, exile, and fierce competition to secure their place at the top of the food chain. Guides spoke of their ferocity, but also of their intelligence, how they adapted, learned from defeat, and rose to power through a bond stronger than blood. But the savannah is a place where even kings eventually fall. In 2008, the cycle of life, unrelenting and impartial, caught up to the Bhatia brothers. The first brother fell during a hunt. Buffalo, while often prey to lions, are among the most dangerous animals to hunt in the wild. With powerful horns and immense strength, a single buffalo can crush even the most experienced predator. On that fateful day, the older Bhatia brother led the charge as they attempted to bring down a massive buffalo bull. It was not the first time they had faced such prey, but this time, something went wrong. As the buffalo bucked and twisted, it caught the Bhatia brother with its horns, driving him into the ground with devastating force. The younger brother roared in defiance, chasing the buffalo away, but it was too late. The older Bhatia lay motionless. His reign brought to an abrupt and brutal end. For days, the remaining brother roamed Madikwe alone. Without his sibling, the vast territory they once ruled together felt empty. The bond that had defined them was severed, and with it the coalition that had once seemed invincible. Lions are social animals, and while coalitions dominate the land, a lone male faces a much harsher reality. The younger Bhatia brother, despite his size and strength, became vulnerable. 3 months later, the inevitable happened. While hunting another buffalo, he too met his end, trampled and gored by a beast he sought to bring down. In the span of a single season, Madikwe had lost its greatest kings. Their deaths sent ripples through the reserve. The lionesses they had ruled over began to scatter, and younger males from neighboring territories quickly moved in to claim the vacant lands. The once unshakable dominance of the Bhatia brothers faded into memory. But even in death, their legacy endured. Park rangers and researchers gathered to examine the fallen brothers, recording their immense size and physical attributes. At over 248 kilograms, 546 lbs each, and measuring more than 3.18 meters, 10.4 FRTs in length, the Bhatia brothers stood as giants even among lions. Their size was unprecedented, and some believed that such lions might not be seen again in the region for decades. Across the continent, in Zambia, a similar fate awaited Mfuwe, the mannerless lion who had terrorized villages and defied every attempt to capture or kill him. In 1991, Wayne Hosek, the American hunter who had spent weeks tracking Mfuwe, finally confronted the lion near the Luangwa River. A buffalo carcass had been set as bait, and this time, Mfuwe approached without caution. Hosek's first shot struck true, but the lion fled into the underbrush, wounded but alive. For 2 more days, Hosek tracked Mfuwe through dense forest until he found the lion resting near a shaded grove. This time, there was no escape. Hosek's rifle rang out, and Mfuwe collapsed, ending a reign of terror that had lasted for months. When Mfuwe's body was brought back to the village, the reaction was not one of relief, but rage. Villagers spat on the lion's body, believing him to be a cursed spirit or the reincarnation of a vengeful sorcerer. Some kicked the carcass, ensuring the spirit would not return. Later, Mfuwe's massive frame was preserved, and in 1998, his body was donated to the Field Museum in Chicago. There he stood as a silent reminder of his dark legacy, the largest man-eating lion ever recorded, measuring 3.20 meters, 10.5 FTs in length, and weighing 249 kilograms, 549 lbs. Visitors to the museum still gaze in awe at Mfuwe's taxidermy mount, wondering how a single lion could bring so much fear to an entire region. The Bhatia brothers and Mfuwe were gone, but their stories lived on, in whispered legends, scientific records, and museum halls. Even in death, the savannah remembered its kings. The deaths of the Bhatia brothers and the Mfuwe lion marked the end of their reigns, but their legacies endured, leaving permanent marks on both the natural world and human memory. In the heart of Madikwe, the pride that once thrived under the Bhatia brothers' rule began to shift. Without their powerful presence, younger coalitions of male lions moved in, eager to fill the void. Lionesses that had once depended on the Bhatias for protection found themselves at the mercy of new rulers, and the cycle of dominance began again. But none could match the sheer size and influence of the brothers. The Bhatias had not only ruled the land, they had redefined what it meant to be a lion in the wild. Even years after their deaths, guides in Madikwe told stories of the colossal lions who once held the reserve in their grip. Visitors, fascinated by the tales, would press for more details, hoping to catch a glimpse of their descendants. Although the Bhatia brothers were gone, their bloodline persisted, woven into the genetics of Madikwe's next generation of lions. Cubs born to their lionesses carried the same powerful frame and robust features that had made the brothers legends. Occasionally, a young male would rise with the same wide chest and piercing gaze, and guides would whisper, "That one carries the Bhatia blood." But the brothers' legacy extended beyond their physical traits. Their story became a lesson in resilience, brotherhood, and the delicate balance of power in the wild. A legacy preserved in the wild, Madikwe's ecosystem changed because of the Batias. Their ability to take down large prey, adult buffalo, giraffes, and even young elephants, meant that certain populations had been kept in check during their reign. After their deaths, these prey species flourished, leading to subtle but noticeable shifts in the reserve's dynamics. Buffalo herds expanded rapidly, and without the pressure of predation from the Batias, they ventured into new grazing areas, altering the landscape. It wasn't long before park rangers noticed the effect their absence had left behind. In a strange way, the Batias' dominance had shaped Madikwe's very terrain. Researchers studying lion behavior often referenced the Batia brothers as examples of how coalitions could rewrite the rules of survival. Traditionally, coalitions of 2 or 3 males dominate prides, but the Batias had shown that even 2 lions, if large and skilled enough, could overpower groups of 4 or more. Their story became a case study in the strength of unity and cooperation. The Mfuwe lion, a legend in death. While the Batia brothers left behind a living legacy in Madikwe, the Mfuwe lion's story took a different path. His body, preserved and displayed at the Field Museum in Chicago, became a chilling reminder of the thin boundary between humans and the wild. Visitors marveled at the lion's size, 3.20 meters, 10.5 ft, from nose to tail, and weighing 249 kilograms, 549 lbs. He stood as a towering figure, unlike any lion most had ever seen. But it wasn't just his size that captivated people, it was the dark legend that followed him. Museum plaques told the story of how Mfuwe terrorized villages, killing 6 people in just 2 months, and how locals believed he was more spirit than animal. Some whispered that Mfuwe had been the reincarnation of a sorcerer cast out by his tribe, cursed to roam the wild as a lion. These stories turned him into more than just an apex predator. They elevated him to the realm of myth. Even today, those who visit the Field Museum pause before the glass case that holds Mfuwe. His eyes, preserved and lifelike, seem to follow those who stand too long in front of him, as if daring them to step closer. For the people of Zambia, Mfuwe's reign left scars that lasted far beyond his death. Villagers in the Luangwa Valley continue to tell stories about him, passing down warnings to younger generations. Even though decades had passed, his name carried weight, a reminder of what lurked just beyond the edges of human settlement. The power of stories. The stories of the Batia brothers and Mfuwe remind us that the wild is as much about narrative as it is about survival. In the vast expanse of the African wilderness, animals rise and fall, but only a few leave behind legends that ripple through time. For the Batia brothers, their tale speaks to the strength of loyalty and the importance of standing united, even in the face of betrayal. Their coalition endured losses, yet through perseverance and trust, they reclaimed their place at the top. For Mfuwe, the lesson is darker, a reminder of nature's unpredictability and the thin line separating predator and prey. His legacy warns of the consequences of underestimating the wild, serving as a testament to the raw and unfiltered force that lions embody. In both stories, the central theme is dominance and the sacrifices required to maintain it. The Batia brothers and Mfuwe were forces of nature, living embodiments of the raw, unrelenting power that defines Africa's great predators. Their deaths marked the end of their individual reigns, but their stories continue to shape the lands and communities they once ruled. In many ways, their lives reflect the eternal struggle for balance in the wild, where power shifts, cycles end, and new kings rise to take the place of the fallen. And as the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows over the savannah, one thing remains certain: the legends of these lions will echo long after their roars have faded. Hello guys! If you like our stories and haven't subscribed yet, support our work and subscribe to the channel to help us.